Greetings, fellow gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about Frankenstein 2025, the latest adaptation of the Mary Shelley classic, this time written and directed by Guillermo Del Toro, the man behind The Devil's Backbone, Pan's Labyrinth, and The Shape of Fucking Water. He's decided to give us his grand gothic take on Frankenstein, though I guess every take on Frankenstein is gothic to a certain extent.
This one way more
this
than
is
others.
This is the most gothicest.
Gothiest.
You know, like if you've ever seen his other movie he made, what was it?
Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak.
Yeah.
It's got the Crimson Peak visuals going on here, but for Frankenstein, and it works really well. Needless to say, I'm a huge Guillermo Del Toro fan, and I was anticipating this movie like crazy, and it fucking delivered.
Yeah, no, this is... I know I say this every time Guillermo Del Toro comes out with a movie, but I think this is his best yet.
I can see that. I don't know if I would say it's his best, but it's definitely a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Again, if you take Crimson Peak, like that epic visual style, and you apply it to something like Frankenstein, that's basically what he's doing with this movie.
Yeah, it gives you an idea of what you're getting.
So the movie is grand, it's huge, it's big, even though it's the Frankenstein story.
Yeah.
You know, it's the Frankenstein story we all know and love. And they also make some changes that make this movie more his own. Like, for one, Frankenstein in this version of the story can literally like heal from any wound like he's fucking Wolverine.
Yeah, he's got like a healing factor, meaning the monster, not the doctor.
Yes, the actual monster. Though they make it very clear in this movie that the monster and Victor are both Frankenstein. That's because the monster is his son. Because the main takeaway from this movie, the main theme of this movie, the main idea of this movie is it's a movie about an abused child who becomes an abusive father to an abused child. That is, at its core, the main theme of the movie.
Yeah, and if you're one of those people who was like, Frankenstein did nothing wrong, meaning the monster, you will love this movie because that is exactly right.
Like every Guillermo del Toro movie, his heart lies with the monsters more than with the humans.
Yeah.
And in this case, the real monster of the story is the doctor, which is true in the original story.
It's very true in the original story.
It's very true in the original story, but obviously Del Toro amps that up for his own purposes in certain ways.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things he does in this adaptation that's a little different from most adaptations is it actually goes into Victor Frankenstein's childhood and his relationship to his abusive father. And that ends up tying into how he ends up treating his son, the monster, later on in the movie.
Yeah.
This movie is told through 2 chapters and a prelude and kind of an epilogue.
Yeah.
The first chapter is Victor Frankenstein's story. It's the doctor's story. And the second chapter is the monster's story, is the son's story. And the epilogue and the prologue are both the snow scene of them telling their stories.
Yes. One of the things that's kind of interesting is this movie, on top of the 2 main actors, Oscar Isaac, who plays Dr. Frankenstein, and Jacob Elordi, who plays the monster, you've got this veritable cavalcade of old British medieval actors who have been in everything. Like, were they in Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, or both? You know, like, there's a whole bunch of that.
There is a veritable Game of Thrones reunion in this movie with some of the cast choices. There's also Mia Goth, who plays Elizabeth. In the book, Elizabeth is Victor Frankenstein's sister/wife, which they kind of keep an element of that in this adaptation. In this adaptation, she is specifically his brother's fiance.
Yeah.
It adds a layer to their sexual attention. Now he's like literally trying to steal a woman from his brother, which further kind of shows what a piece of shit Victor Frankenstein is, actually.
Yes.
But the other thing they do is they actually give Elizabeth more to do in this version of the story than she typically has in most versions of Frankenstein. In this version of the story, she kind of serves as like the moral foil for Victor.
Yeah.
She's kind of the one that represents like what science is supposed to be. It's supposed to be observing and learning how the world works.
How nature works.
Whereas he's all about playing God. He's all about controlling. We're not supposed to be here controlling the world. We're supposed to be learning how the world works. That's kind of her perspective. And so the two of them are kind of in like a philosophical battle for most of the movie, which also kind of serves towards their sexual tension because they're also kind of flirting when they're doing that.
Yeah.
If you've only seen the original Frankenstein movie from back in the 30s, if that's the only one you've seen, then the ending to the story is going to surprise you because it's a very different ending.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit closer to the books.
Oh, it's almost identical.
But what I think is really interesting about it is that in the book, it's more of a tragedy, but in this movie, it has more of a hopeful bent to it. So I'll leave that for the spoiler section, but it is different from the original movie. There is no flaming, like, what do you call it? A windmill. There is another change that Del Toro made that's more like, it's less like thematic or anything. It's more just like the background decoration of the movie.
Yeah.
And this is something Del Toro does with most of his movies. This movie is set during a war.
Yeah.
It actually ends up tying into this version of the movie because that's where Victor gets a lot of bodies in this version of the story. He's not just grave robbing in this version. In this version, he's literally robbing like actual battlefields of bodies.
Yeah, he's robbing battlefields and like taking the condemned, bodies of the condemned.
Yep. Which actually further adds to like the tragedy of the monster himself. The monster is a creation, not only of Frankenstein, the monster is stitched together from a whole bunch of people who died in a horrific battle. Like,
yeah. Oh, and important to note, there is no Igor/Fritz. There is a character who fulfills that role.
Played by Christoph Waltz.
He's played by Christoph Waltz.
He's more of a benefactor in this story. I believe his name is like Harlander in this movie.
I think it's Harlander. Yeah.
And he is the uncle to Elizabeth in this version of the story. And he basically bankrolls all of Victor's, experiments. But he almost like fills like an Igor-like role in the movie.
Yeah, because he's kind of the assistant. He's kind of helping pick out the body parts.
Yeah.
And the brains.
But he's also the benefactor, so he holds a power over Victor that none of his like assistants in any other adaptation has had.
Yeah.
Jacob Elordi definitely steals the show when he's on screen, but Oscar Isaac dominates most of this movie, and his performance is fantastic. It's one of the best Frankenstein performances I've seen in terms of like the actual doctor. I honestly think both him and Jacob Elordi deserve the best actor and the supporting actor.
Best actor and supporting actor, yeah.
I don't know which one you would give because they're both kind of the leads.
Yeah, the co-stars.
They're both co-stars, and they both like have their own chapters dedicated to them where they're the primary character.
Oh, that's another thing. This motherfucker's 2.5 hours long.
It is. And yet, it was so good, so compelling. It went by like really fast.
Yeah, it did not drag.
It felt like a 90-minute movie to me because of how good it was overall. Everything about this movie, the acting, the writing, the cinematography, the music,
costumes,
the
sets,
costumes,
everything.
The sets. Holy shit, this movie has like big, huge, elaborate sets.
They actually did create the laboratory.
Yeah. The giant boat that they built for the boat sequences.
Yeah, for the boat sequence. You're like, what?
Don't get me wrong, there's obvious green screens and CGI additions to everything because Guillermo Del Toro will use every part of the buffalo.
Yeah, he'll use whatever he can to get the image.
But I was actually surprised watching the making of how much of the sets were actually there.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, I thought for sure, like, especially that scene where, like, the fucking giant glowing battery, like, hits the fucking ground.
Had to be CGI, right?
Yeah, it had to be CGI. There's no way you'd actually build that and then drop. Oh, I guess you built that and then dropped it.
And it turns out the CGI portion of that effect was mainly the fire after the fucking falling.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was a whole bodysuit that the guy was wearing.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was like, okay, that's like, like a bit here, a bit there, and maybe a little emphasis there. No, it's like a fucking glove that they sew him into.
And it's seamless.
It is.
Unless
you're talking about the literal seams that it has.
Yeah.
Because he's Frankenstein.
He's stitched together, like every Frankenstein is. And what I really like about it is like the design of him. Like you could tell like, oh, that's the heart compartment.
Yeah.
Like there's like a little like fucking chunk there where he like cut out like a piece and put a heart in
and then sewed it
stuff
back
like that.
up.
And you could see like on his body like little details where you're like, oh, like that's where he screwed up a stitch and had to like restitch it.
Yeah.
Or he had to like reopen it up again. And like the details on the actual like monster effect is fantastic. Now, Jacob Elordi is a very handsome man. No amount of monster makeup they put on him hides that fact.
Yeah. Which actually works really well if you're adapting the novel because he is supposed to be really, really, really beautiful, but like fucking weird looking.
There's a scene with him and Elizabeth where there's a little bit of like sexual tension between the monster and Elizabeth. I was watching it and I'm going like, this isn't Frankenstein anymore. This is The Shape of Beefcake. Because the moment he stand up, I immediately thought of The Shape of Water and like the monster and the lady. That's the other thing about this movie is that even though there isn't really any sex scenes, it's still a very horny movie.
Oh, yeah.
And
definitely. Not she want to fuck that monster.
Yes.
She didn't get the chance.
And Victor wants to fuck her. And the monster is kind of a baby, so it's confused about everything, but it knows it doesn't want to be alone.
Yeah.
The other thing about this movie is that if you've ever seen a Guillermo Del Toro movie, one thing that's consistent in every Guillermo Del Toro movie is that at some point, the monster in the movie, and it's a Guillermo Del Toro movie, so there's always going to be a monster, is going to be dissected. In this movie, half of the movie is basically one of those Guillermo Del Toro dissecting scenes.
Yep.
Because half of the movie is him putting the monster together.
Yeah. Like, there's no way Guillermo Del Toro was going to make a Frankenstein movie where half the movie wasn't, like, literally putting the actual,
like, stitching, like, together. You know? You can totally see there's a bit of Guillermo who sees himself as Victor.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's even said this in some interviews where he said that had he made this movie 20 years ago when he originally wanted to, it'd be a conversation between him and his dad. But now that he's making it at this point in his life, it's a conversation between him and his dad and him and his son. And when you hear that, you go, oh, I get it. He's Victor. Yeah. His son's the monster. His dad is the dad in the beginning of the movie. So if he had made this 20 years ago, he would have been the monster.
Yeah.
So Frankenstein is currently in theaters, but it is playing in very limited amounts of theaters. So check to see if its listings are near you because you're going to want to see this on the big screen if you can. But if you can't, if it's not playing anywhere near you, or if you just don't have the time to go out to theaters, it's currently on Netflix. So you can go watch it on Netflix as long as you have a subscription and enjoy. Trust me, no matter which format you watch it in, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's a masterpiece.
I would watch this again on IMAX, definitely.
One of the best movies of the year, right up there with Sinners and The Long Walk for me.
Oh, yeah.
And with that said, let us move on to the spoilers so we can talk about some of the stuff we haven't talked about yet, like the ending. So here we go.
Like I said, it's very similar to the ending of the book, where the last thing that the book describes is seeing, like, Frankenstein like run off into the
the sunset, basically.
Yeah, into the sunset, into the frozen tundra, never to be seen again. This one, however, has a slightly different take on that same scene.
Yeah,
it's still like, oh, just because he's different.
Yes,
you know? It's got that, but he also ends up freeing the men who were trapped on the ice with Frankenstein.
He does. Not only that, the conversation he has with Victor.
Oh, yeah.
The forgiveness he gives his father and the advice his father gives him of like, it doesn't matter how you got here. You need to just live.
Yeah.
You need to just live. It doesn't matter if you can't die. That means you gotta live. I don't remember that ever being in the book.
Oh, no, that's not part of the book at all.
Like that resolution he has with his father and that resolution Victor has with his son before Victor dies at the end of this movie.
Yeah. In fact, part of the point of the original novel is that kind of shit doesn't happen.
Yes.
You know?
So you still have the tragedy of, you know, Victor dying, the monster going off into the tundra, but there's like a sense of hope. There's a future here for the monster and not just, you know, wilt away in the snow forever. I kind of lied a little bit earlier. Not really. I didn't lie. I said the truth, but I said earlier that there is no windmill on fire scene in this version of the story. There kind of is, but it's not a windmill. It's the entire lab that he builds the monster in this version of the story. And he sets it on fire to kill the monster and the monster escapes. But it's a grand fucking scene of this gigantic tower that they've built that it looks like something out of Lord of the Rings, that they fucking built this like massive fucking lab that's a giant lightning rod to fucking bring the thing back to life. And he lights it on fire and it's like this massive set piece. All the fucking giant pieces of equipment he had, like these big fucking like glass towers filled with like substance. You're not even sure what it is.
Yeah. They're batteries, so you assume some sort of battery acid.
Yeah. Sometimes they're red, sometimes they're green, which there's an interesting color motif happening there where...
Yeah, because Victor, his gloves and like the interior of his coat are red, and Elizabeth is coated in green.
And his mom was always in a red dress.
Also in red.
So there's like something about red and green that symbolizes the creation of life in this story. Interesting enough, the monster's not wearing either of those colors.
No, he is blue.
He's blue.
Yeah, he is different.
The old man.
The old man.
Isn't the blind man from Bride of Frankenstein? Or is that in the original story and I'm just
The blind man's in the original book.
He's in the original
book.
But
he doesn't appear in Frankenstein. He appears in Bride of Frankenstein.
Okay.
You know, that's the way that goes. The whole thing with like the blind man and his granddaughter and the family, that's all from the novel.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, I remember noticing that when I read the novel for the first time, where I was like, I always thought that was something they made up for a sequel. No, it's actually in the original text.
It's in the original novel, and they just put it in the sequel.
They just put it in the sequel
when they made the movies. Okay, all right, rock on. So they do have the blind man in this, and the blind man's daughter, and all that stuff. He doesn't throw a girl into a lake to drown in this version of the story, though.
Yeah.
But he does fucking fist fight some wolves at one point in this. The most vicious, mean wolves I've ever seen.
Yeah. These wolves are like, fuck, it's like, I'll kill you, motherfucker. I'll kill you, motherfucker.
I made the Lord of the Rings reference earlier. These wolves feel like they're from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they're like wargs.
Yeah.
You know, like they just, what? Is that people in that building? We gotta fuck them up. We gotta eat them right now.
They're also fucking huge. Like, wolves are big. They're much bigger than dogs, but these wolves are like bear size.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I guess they're supposed to be dire wolves.
Or something, just to make them like extra beefy.
Yeah.
Cool,
yeah.
You know? But you still find yourself going like, Jesus, these wolves are crazy.
And that's one of the other changes that he kind of does for this version of the story. Definitely tones down like Frankenstein's actions. Oh, not Frankenstein, the monsters. The monster's actions.
Yeah, the violent things that the monster does. Yeah.
Because the monster does not really kill anybody unless he's provoked in this version of the story. Like, if people are shooting at him, he will go after them and fight back. But he doesn't like just attack anyone or just accidentally kill someone the way that some other versions of the story would depict it. In this, he's very kind-hearted. He's practically a Disney princess.
Yeah, because like no matter where he is, like little animals gather around.
Yeah, he grew up chained in a tower. He escapes. Every animal reacts to him like they're his best friend, including rats and fucking mice and fucking deer.
Yeah.
And birds.
There's
a lot of crows in this movie.
Yeah.
And he is found by a blind man who he protects from wolves at one point. He doesn't succeed.
But
like, it made me think of Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
When the beast fights the wolves to save Belle. The movie also, what's that quote from Garth Marenghi?
I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
Yes. That scene when Victor Frankenstein, the doctor's brother, is dying.
Yeah.
And he basically calls his brother the monster.
Yes. Yeah.
It's very on the nose, but the movie made it very clear who it feels is the bad guy.
Yeah.
But I also liked that scene because I kind of liked his relationship with his brother, where he's very controlling and dominating of his brother, but he does love his brother. So when his brother dies, he kind of snaps.
Yeah.
You know, and he also knows that the brother died because of him, because of everything he's done.
Make it very clear that Victor Frankenstein's big failing is that he cannot accept failure. No. He cannot accept failure. He cannot accept blame.
He can't accept responsibility for fucking anything.
No.
There's
not a goddamn thing.
There's at least twice in this movie I recall where he does something and blames it on the monster.
Yes.
This is one of the twists in the movie.
Yes, yeah.
Harlander, the benefactor played by Christoph Waltz, it's revealed that he is dying of syphilis. And he basically, bankrolled this entire affair because he wants his brain to be put in the monster so that he can have the perfect body and be resurrected.
Yeah, and Victor explains that that's not going to work because syphilis gets in your brain.
Yeah, he's already too far gone. It's already progressed too far. If this was earlier on in the process, maybe. But as far as he's progressed, he's just going to infect the new body, and it's just not going to work. So they get in a fight. Victor ends up knocking him into the hole. He ends up falling to his dead.
He goes splat.
Splat. That's the other thing about this movie.
That was a good effect.
Much like Pan's Labyrinth, this movie is surprisingly gory at random moments.
Yeah.
It will just fucking jump scare you with gore in certain scenes. And one of them is when Victor picks up Christoph Waltz's body and the back of his head just falls out.
Yeah.
Later on, when he's talking to his brother, who was working with the two of them, he says that the monster attacked Christoph Waltz
Yeah.
and killed him. And then even later in the movie, he's trying to shoot the monster and Elizabeth jumps in the way and gets shot. Again, Victor shoots Elizabeth trying to shoot the monster.
By accident, but still, he does it.
When people come running in during all the commotion, he says, the monster killed Elizabeth, get the monster.
Yeah.
So he literally can't even take responsibility for shit like that. Like, he just can't.
Yeah.
A reoccurring thing that happens in this movie where he gets mad at the monster for not being intelligent enough.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is he's basically doing what his dad did to him.
Yeah, he's exactly doing that.
Where his dad would put him through these drills, and if he didn't pass the drills perfectly, then his dad would basically treat him like an idiot.
Yeah.
And punish him. And he gets mad that the monster, who's literally a day old at this point in the story, can't say any other words other than the name Victor. Eventually, he becomes a very eloquent speaking individual, so Victor kind of jumps the gun when he decides to kill him for not being able to speak other words.
Yeah.
But then he does speak another word. He speaks the word Elizabeth. He says Elizabeth's name, and Victor decides to kill him anyway.
There's every indication that if he had just been chill, everything would have worked out.
Yes, if he had chilled out and took his time teaching the monster as if it were a child, needing to learn, and he wouldn't even need as long as a child because basically he spends one winter with that old man.
And all of a sudden he's reading Shakespeare.
Yeah, he's quoting fucking actual poetry.
Yeah, he's quoting Milton and
shit. Yeah. So obviously he didn't need to spend that long with the fucking monster.
Right. He just needed to be taught.
He just needed to be taught, but because the thing wasn't a genius in the 3 days he had him, he decided to burn the fucking thing down because he can't fucking face his own failure as a human being. And he's not even his own failure because he's not a failure. His dad just made him feel like one.
Yeah.
One of the things I actually really liked, and this is actually a subtle part of the movie because it's not something that's spelled out in dialogue, like say, you're the monster is.
Right.
Victor hates the monster because he sees himself in the monster.
Yep. Yeah. And thus the trauma continues.
Yes. It's a cycle of abuse that kills everyone in its path, including his brother, including his brother's fiance, and many other people that get in the way when Victor is trying to chase the monster.
Yeah. And it would have killed the monster, except the monster can't be killed.
The monster can't be killed because, again, he can heal things like he's fucking Wolverine.
Yeah.
And also, apparently, he doesn't need to breathe either because he could just be underwater forever.
He fucking comes back from a stick of dynamite to the face.
Yep. I love that scene where he's just like, this is your salvation. You think this will end me? Well, then let's see.
Let's see, oh, man.
Such a great scene. At that point in the movie, you're 100% on the monster's side.
Oh,
you're just no, fuck this guy. This movie is just phenomenal from start to finish. It's another Del Toro masterpiece, up there with his Pan's Labyrinths and his Devil's Backbones and The Shapes of Water. Yeah. Some of his best movies. It's 100%
another
up
Del
there.
Toro thing that he got. It's got weird antique prosthetics.
True, absolutely.
Yeah, that's another thing that tends to happen in a Del Toro movie.
Victor Frankenstein walking around with that prosthetic leg.
Yeah.
After the explosion that he caused.
Yeah.
Because he causes the explosion, but then he has that moment of wait, I'm killing my own son. And he turns around and the explosion just fucking takes his leg. You're just well, you kind of deserve that.
You deserve that one, buddy. That's on you. And I think you ought to, maybe chill out, think some of these things through, kick back a little bit.
Everything in this movie could have been solved if he just decided to wait a little bit. If you know you're going to be a shitty dad, maybe don't become a dad.
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea.
Moral
of the story is don't be a shitty dad.
Don't be a shitty dad. Where can they find you, Count Jackula?
You can find me here on YouTube, where I stream every weeknight at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And I would love to fucking see you there. We talk about all kinds of groovy things like monsters, madmen, mayhem, blood, guts, gore. So you should come down and you should hang out with me.
Y'all know me, I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on various social media platforms, but these days I primarily use Blue Sky, so follow me on there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way, but we will certainly accept more. And these days, we kind of need more. So if you haven't checked out our Patreon but thought about it, now's about the time we could use you to, go through with it. We could use it. Yeah. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, if you made it this far into the video, then I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag #TheShapeOfBeefcake. the alternate title for this movie as far as I'm concerned. Because good God, did it look like that lady was going to fuck that Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah. No. We were going to get...
Both of them, actually.
Yeah, I know, right?
She's going to fuck the father and the son in this movie. And his brother. Damn. She's going to fuck the whole family.
The whole... Yeah. And well, I guess when you look like Mia Goth, you got that option.
Yeah. Anyway, my fellow Gorehounds, peace out. And we'll catch y'all later.